Oh my my, oh hell yes. Canada elects Justin Trudeau Prime Minister on a platform of legalizing marijuana federally. Yes, that's right. Federally legal cannabis in Canada coming very, very soon. It could be as long as 2 years, but, well, it's underway. And we talked to Jamie Shaw about what just happened. Okay, so we've got Jamie Shaw from the BCCCS, the British Columbia Compassion Club Society, as well as the CAMCD, the Canadian Association of Medical Cannabis Dispensaries. Jamie Shaw, holy shit, Jamie Shaw!
Pretty much, yeah. It's been an interesting night.
What happened?
Well, the game changed. We are no longer living under an antagonistic government towards cannabis, and we're looking at legalization coming very shortly.
So, Justin Trudeau, son of Pierre Trudeau, got elected with a clear majority, no less.
Yes, yeah, which was a bit of a surprise. Everybody was calling for a very close three-way, but close to the election, the Liberals really kind of pulled ahead.
So he has said that he would like to take action to legalize marijuana right away.
Yes, yeah, that's going to be one of the very first things he does. He hasn't been very clear on the exact timeline, whether they're going to be able to roll it out quickly or whether it might take up to 2 years, but it's coming. And in the meantime, I would imagine that enforcement on cannabis charges will stop while this is getting figured out. So practically, it's already here.
Amazing. So as far as the dispensaries in Vancouver, we can probably expect to see dispensaries pop up all over the country. Is that fair?
I would imagine. I mean, we've already been seeing that. We've already got cities in like Saskatoon and Winnipeg that have been looking at this even under a prohibition government. So I would imagine they're going to be ready to move fairly quickly. And we're going to actually see a nice distinction soon, I think, between recreational dispensaries and medical dispensaries, which have been getting kind of blurred.
As far as licensed producers, we're doing our best to make sure that we get one of those guys on. We know a few of them, as well as hopefully somebody from Health Canada. But what is your sense on how the whole framework is going to change, aside from just the dispensary landscape?
Well, I mean, hopefully we'll see producer regulations modified not only for the existing licensed producers, but also maybe for a smaller producer class of license. Home rules, home growing rules, hopefully will finally get sorted out. And the edible issue will hopefully finally be dealt with in a way that actually works for everybody. So, yeah, there's a lot of work to do still, but everything's looking a lot better, and we will hopefully be able to open conversation again with government agencies that we haven't previously been allowed to talk to for the last few years.
Yeah. So, Harper kind of had a closed fist on all of that type of communication, saying things like cigarettes were healthier for you than cannabis, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
So it's been, over a decade of Harper. So as far as getting in touch with Health Canada, as far as getting in touch with government regulators, what's your sense? Who are your first calls going to?
Well, I think we're first obviously congratulating all of the MPs that have won their seats, and I imagine we'll probably give them a few days to kind of get settled in and revel in that. But then we will probably start again on the federal level. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk to the Office of Medical Cannabis and Health Canada as well. Now that they will no longer be under orders to not to talk to us.
Right. And I'm still from the United States of America, and, don't hold that against me. But when does this change actually take place is why I can ask a question like that. That's why I prefaced it that way. In other words, he got elected last night. When does he assume the seat?
Well, it will take a little while. Thankfully, with the majority, Stephen Harper actually stepped down, resigned from the party, so the Conservatives are going to have to figure out who's leading the opposition. So it'll be a little while before I would imagine he's going to be able to sit down with all of the different ministries and give them new direction, so to speak. So, I mean, we could be looking at a few months, but again, in practical terms, it's already here.
So, as far as we're concerned, when we elect the president in November, he then gets, actually in as president in January. Are you saying that Justin Trudeau is now the prime minister as we speak?
Basically,
Okay.
there's still some, he's got to go to the governor general's office and ask permission to form a government, even though he's got the majority. There's still some protocol that has to be gone through.
Got it.
But yeah,
But it's done.
yeah, it's done.
All right, so we've got a couple of months for him just to kind of get through, those machinations. We understand, what you're doing as far as waiting for seats to be taken and such. What is your sense here? Because we spoke to you, we spoke to a couple of licensed producers. The sense leading up to last night or yesterday was that it was going to be a third. It was going to be a minority government. Everybody was saying the same thing, no matter what their political stripes were. What do you think changed?
Well, I think it was coming up on. I think that the week before, there's a couple of different things. One, I would like to think cannabis played a fairly large role. I had written an article called "Cannabis: The Silent Debate" because there had been some weird machinations going on behind the scenes with Health Canada sending threatening letters to dispensaries and things like that. And about a week or so later, cannabis finally started to become part of the conversation. And I think there was some fear on the part of the NDP and the Liberals that to talk too much about that issue may hurt them. And I think the reality was the exact opposite. I wrote an article that came out today, kind of outlining where I think we can go from here. And I wrote that before the election results started coming in, and I kind of had called for a Liberal majority and was waiting to see if I was going to be wrong and had to edit it, and then ended up sending it out about an hour or so. So I think people that were watching closely, I think, really started to get a sense of it during Election Day, if not a few days before.
Amazing. As far as you in Vancouver, it does look. I'm looking at a map here. New Democratic Party seems to have taken Vancouver. Yet West Vancouver went for the Liberal Party. Am I getting too far into the weeds, or is that basically
No,
right?
BC was kind of a weird breakdown. Basically, the NDP won the left half of the province, and the Conservatives won the right half of the province. But the Liberals won in Kelowna and all of the major ridings in Vancouver for the most part. We were happy to see Don Davies and Jenny Kwan from the NDP get reelected. They've both been very supportive of both CAMCD and the BC Compassion Club Society, so we were happy to see them in. But yeah, the Liberals really kind of took a big sweep here in the Lower Mainland.
St. John's, Halifax, places like Thunder Bay, all went Liberal Party, right?
Yeah, well, and this is not unprecedented. This is there was actually a funny infographic that came out a few weeks ago, saying that the history of Canadian politics was vote in the Conservatives, get angry at the Conservatives, vote in the Liberals, and that is basically what has happened. I mean, the last time we had such a high voter turnout was when we threw out the Conservatives and put in the Liberals.
All right.
And the Jays won the series, just to make it a little interesting. The Jays won the series that year, so.
Interesting, and they are in the World Series again. They just won last night. They're still down 2-1, but what you're forecasting there is another comeback.
If it holds, yeah, if it holds to 93 standards.
So then the only sports team that I really care about, the New York Mets, are still alive also as far as Major League Baseball is concerned. So if we have Toronto versus New York, you and I will be on the opposite side of an issue for the first time, I think.
Kind of. I don't really care about baseball.
Right, exactly.
And I was in New York when the Rangers won the Cup, so,
there you go. Okay, so this is we set this up to happen this afternoon. This is the day after the election that you and I are speaking, and I think both of us at the time expected that this conversation was basically going to be, it's going to be kind of more of the same. So what other thoughts do you have aside what we've covered here on this Justin Trudeau win?
Well, I mean, I think, and specifically in terms of the cannabis issue, I think we're going to start seeing some maybe bigger movement on the U.S. federal level now. There's been information on the UN report that they may be looking at this treaty that's been used as an excuse for a long time for why countries can't legalize. And with Canada legalizing and the UN changing their stance, we may see federal legalization in the United States very soon.
That is bold, my friend. That is bold.
That's what I'm hoping.
It sounds weird to hear you say it, understanding that Canada is on its way to doing just that. Let me just get back to that timeline. A few months for him to kind of get settled. He himself has said, Justin Trudeau has said that he doesn't know when this will happen. It could be as long as 2 years from now, which is only 2017. Is that your sense of things, or you just don't know?
We just don't know. I mean, I think it'll go faster. I think it'll have to go faster than that. I think that's what most regulators are finding now when they sit down to discuss whether or not it should be something they're discussing. Things have already moved past them. And I think they're starting to see that in different jurisdictions and starting to move quickly. So, it wasn't that long ago that I did a podcast with you here, and I was whining that how did California and Oregon and Washington get ahead of us?
Exactly.
So, maybe in a few months we'll be back to that.
Maybe. Well, I don't know. It does all seem to be moving in the right direction. That's I think, the thing to focus on. Listen, great to talk to you. I guess what we should do is probably talk to you in a few months once he gets settled and see where things are for another update. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that sounds great. Should be some updates on the Vancouver licensing by then as well.
Indeed. Okay, so Justin Trudeau, son of Pierre Trudeau, elected the Prime Minister of Canada with a platform of legalizing marijuana. You can't make it up, Jamie Shaw.
No, you can't.
Amazing. Good talking to you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Seth.
Well, so then there you have it. Jamie Shaw and federally legal cannabis coming soon to Canada. I can't believe that is what we're saying, but that's what he said. Let's see. Just spoke to Jamie. He said, you never know what happens with politicians once they get into office, but certainly elected with that as part of his platform. So looking forward to finding out more.